Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Professor Ikramur Rahim. Today I will teach you about the diseases of pancreas. Pancreas is very important structure in our body. It is almost located in the center of the abdomen. So the more important diseases which are concerned with the pancreas are the acute pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis, and carcinoma of the pancreas. First, today's lecture, I will basically discuss with you about the acute pancreatitis. Acute pancreatitis is basically a condition in which activated pancreatic enzymes leak into the substance of the pancreas and initiate the autodigestion of the gland. Basically, this is the process by which the pancreatic enzymes are leaked and they cause the injury of the this important structure. Basically, pancreas secretes digestive enzymes, but these digestive enzymes are leaked into its own structure. That's why it causes the inflammation, and then the other process of necrosis occurs. Basically, why this acute pancreatitis occur? There are the many theories about this, why this inflammation and injury of the pancreas occur. Because pancreas secretes the digestive enzymes as proenzymes, which are activated in the intestinal lumen. Basically, pancreas secretes proenzymes, but they activate in small intestine, in the parts of the second part of the duodenum from where it is secreted. This means they are it secretes basically proenzyme. Active is the enzymes. Activation occur in the duodenum or other part of the intestine. In acute pancreatitis may result when activation occur in the pancreatic duct system or acinar system, and then this when this activation occur in its own tissue, this cause the inflammation and edema and necrosis, and the released enzymes leads to the fat necrosis both in the pancreas and in the peritoneal cavity. So by this mechanism the acute pancreatitis occur. Why these enzymes are not secreted into the duodenum in acute pancreatitis? There are the theories that there may be edema or obstruction of the ampulla of the water. This result in reflux of bile into the pancreatic ducts, and this cause the injury. So we see that the acute pancreatitis basically end result is that inflammation of the pancreas occurs. When the pancreas inflammation occurs, this leads to the signs and symptoms which are abdominal pain, central abdominal pain, nausea, and vomiting. This is accompanied by the elevation of serum enzyme level, particularly the serum amylase or lipase. Basically, amylase is not specific for the pancreatic tissue, more specific is the lipase. And but we usually perform both these tests. And extravasation of fluids into the retroperitoneal space, which is known as the third space, and when the fluids accumulate here, the blood volume decreased, and this may lead to the shock-like situation. When we perform the radiographic studies of the pancreas, it shows the pancreatic inflammation, edema, or necrosis. I will explain to you these radiological studies in detail later on. Because when the pancreatitis occurs, this leads to the systemic inflammatory response, which is abbreviated as SIRUS, with hypotension, because in third space when the pancreatic enzymes this is basically cause the chemical peritonitis. Okay, you know, also previously in the previous lecture I told you the bacterial peritonitis or some other viral or tuberculous peritonitis. Now when the pancreatic tissue is inflamed, its enzymes are leaked and they goes into the abdomen. This causes a chemical peritonitis. This leads to the shift of the fluid from the intravascular volume to the into the peritoneum. This leads to the hypotension. This hypotension leads to the decreased blood flow to the kidneys, renal failure, and respiratory failure due to the acute ARDS. Pancreatic morphology and function may recover after the attack. When the attack goes on, and after some process, the recovery start. But sometimes recovery is complete, sometimes recovery is not complete. And sometimes the repeated episodes of acute inflammation occur, and this leads to the chronic inflammation, which is known as the chronic pancreatitis, and this leads to the fibrosis of the pancreatic tissue. When the fibrosis occurs, it becomes non-functional tissue. Now we see the what are the causes of this disease which leads to the death of the patients. Number one cause or more important cause is the gallstones, which is very common in our country, Pakistan. But in the European areas where the alcohol is commonly used, this is very important cause of the acute pancreatitis, alcoholic acute pancreatitis. Other causes are the drugs and toxins. The drugs may be azathioprine, diadenosine, pentamidine, which are used in the HIV, valproic acids, furosemide, sulfonamides, aminosalicylic acids. These are the important drugs which are used, and these also lead to the acute inflammation of the pancreas. Then is the metabolic factor. Metabolic factor are the raised serum triglyceride level. We usually when perform the lipid profile, the triglyceride is an important fat derivative. Sometimes a congenital elevation of the triglycerides occur, and this leads to the pancreatitis. Other is the hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia also leads to the acute pancreatitis. Other may be trauma and infection. Infection is like the mumps virus infection and the Coxsackie virus infection. Sometimes the post ERCP, this also lead to the acute pancreatitis, and autoimmune pancreatitis is another category, and the other is the idiopathic, and where the no cause is identified in spite of all the investigation. No viral, no bacterial, no other cause stone or some obstructive cause is known, but the pancreatitis occur, and this category has the 10% of the share in the causes of the acute pancreatitis. Now we goes to the how the patient presents to us. Basically, when the patient comes to us, we take the history of the patient, and especially when the 70% cause is the gallstone and alcohol, we especially ask the patient, have you the gallstone or history of stones in the gallbladder, or you use alcohol consumption? How is your alcohol consumption? If it is very heavy or he has taken its lot of alcohol in the previous day, then this is very relevant to the his current disease of acute pancreatitis. Other abdominal pain is very severe abdominal pain, especially in the epigastric area, and this occur at 12 to 24 hours after a large meal or alcohol. This is typical for the alcoholic that he has taken alcohol one day before, and now he has a severe abdominal pain in the epigastric region. Pain is usually persistent and radiates most frequently to the back, to either shoulder or to one of the iliac fossa before spreading to involve the whole of the abdomen. Other characteristic of the pain is that it's usually worse by walking and lying spine, but patient feels better when he sits and lean forwards. This is very important that you will find the patient in sitting position mostly. With acute pancreatitis, he is complaining that he has a severe pain, but he is sitting. He says, I am comfortable in sitting position. Other are symptoms are the nausea, vomiting, these are usually occur, and sometimes shock also occur. When we examine the patient, means when we touch the patient, there is tenderness in the epigastrium, and the patient has a severe pain, but initially there is little or no gardening of the abdominal muscles, but later on where the whole of the abdomen become tender and rigid. This is due to the peritonitis. Patient may have the paralytic ileus, means intestinal motility is slow and he is not passing wind, and other is that patient may have the abdominal distension due to some ascites. Patient develop the peritonitis and fluid collect in the abdomen. Other is that patient may have the shock like symptoms like hypotension, tachypnea, dyspnea, fever in most severe cases. Sometimes patients have the neurological manifestation like the confusion and delirium, and sometimes even in comatose states. While we are examining the patient, especially of the abdomen, we may find the two important signs. These usually occur in the severe cases. Patient develop bruising and discoloration in the left flank, which is known as the Gray Turner sign. Sometimes this skin discoloration or hemorrhagic discoloration is around the umbilicus, which is known as the Cullen signs. These are rare and the late sign of the extensive pancreatic destructions. Now I will show you the picture. These two, you must remember these two important signs, Gray Turner sign and Cullen sign, because they are frequently asked in the examination in which disease you find the Gray Turner sign or Cullen sign. So you must remember these names because examiners frequently ask these two things in your MCQs questions or in some Viva questions. So these are the important clinical manifestations of the acute pancreatitis. Now I will show you the picture. Here is the bleeding or hemorrhagic spot. This is the umbilicus. This is around the umbilicus, and this is the known as the Cullen sign. As I have told you, this is the usually the late manifestation, and it is usually associated with extensive destruction of the pancreatic tissue. Here is the Gray Turner sign. This is the flank of the patient. This is the flank of the patient, and here is the hemorrhagic spot, which is known as the Gray Turner sign. These are very important pictures. Sometimes you examine a patient with severe abdominal pain, and these are very important signs which you should not miss while examining the patient. Now we come to the complications of the acute pancreatitis, because this is very important disease. Mortality rate is very high. We must know the complications of the patients. It has the complications which are related with the pancreatic tissue. It has the complications related with the gastrointestinal tract, and it has a complication related with the whole of the body. Patient has the severe fluid loss, and patient has a shock and renal failure. Because pancreatic necrosis is associated with leakage of fluids in the pancreatic bed, and also the ileus with fluid filled loops of bowel, leading to pre-renal azotemia and then acute tubular necrosis. Means patient has the hypotension and hypovolemic shock like condition. This leads to the acute tubular necrosis. Other is the hypoxia. This may be result with the ARDS, adult respiratory distress syndrome. In pancreatitis, ARDS occur, and this may be due to the micro thrombi in the pulmonary vessels, and this disrupt the oxygenation of the body, because oxygenation occur in the pulmonary area, means in the lungs. Other complication is the hyperglycemia. This is due to the destruction of the pancreatic islet cell. We know that pancreatic islet cells, especially the beta cells, produce the insulin. When the pancreatic tissue is destroyed, and especially the islet cells, so when there is no beta cells, definitely no insulin production and blood glucose level will high. Other is the hypocalcemia because of the sequestration of calcium in fat necrosis. Because the pancreatic enzymes which are leaked from the pancreas, this leads to the fatty necrosis. So fatty necrosis absorb calcium from the body. So this may lead to the hypocalcemia. Hypoalbuminemia because of the increased capillary permeability. Other complications which are related with the pancreas is the pancreatic necrosis and pancreatic abscess formation. These patients usually, when these complication occur, especially necrosis and abscess formation, this leads to the high grade fever and leukocytosis in the WBC count, and there is localized tenderness and epigastric mass like feeling. It may be associated with the left-sided pleural effusion and enlarged spleen due to the splenic vein thrombosis. So when the abscess presents, these features usually occur. Other is complication of the pancreatitis is the pseudocyst formation. Basically, this is the pseudocyst is the encapsulated fluid collection with high enzyme contents, usually less than 6 centimeter size of the pseudocyst usually resolve, but the larger may not resolve, and for this we have to take the help of the surgeon. Sometimes this pseudocyst leads to the abscess formation. So this is very important complication of the pseudocyst. You must remember that pseudocyst is the encapsulated mass with fluid collections. Sometimes it is simple, especially less than 6 centimeter, we don't care. More than 6 centimeter, we have to drain it. Sometimes this may lead to the abscess formation. Other complication is the ascites. Patient has the gradual when the ascites occur, especially definitely there is a fluid collection in the peritoneal area, and this leads to the increase in abdominal girth and the abdominal elevation, and this leads to the usually this is associated with the persistent elevation in the serum amylase level, and sometimes it may result from the rupture of the pancreatic duct or drainage of the pseudocyst into the peritoneal cavity. Because pseudocyst has the fluid leakage when occur, this leads to the fluid collection in the abdomen and abdominal distension occurs. Other complications which are related with the GI tract is the upper GI bleeding. This may be gastric or duodenal erosions, varicose hemorrhage, because in this acute pancreatitis, splenic vein thrombosis occur, and when the thrombosis occur in the portal veins, this leads to the varices formation, just like the chronic liver disease and cirrhosis, and varices may rupture. This lead to the upper GI bleeding. Other is the duodenal obstruction because of the compression by the pancreatic mass, and sometimes patient have the obstructive jaundice. This is due to the compression of the common bile duct. Other complications are that this leads to the, because in this condition body immunity is low, infection occur, multi-organ failure occur because ARDS is typical example, metabolic acidosis occur, and pancreatic insufficiency like the patient have the hyperglycemia occur. These are very important complications which I have told you in detail. You must know the cause of each complication, because you have to treat the patient, and you have to plan for these. You must be ready when you deal a case of acute pancreatitis. This is the picture. This is the pancreas. This is the second part of the duodenum. Here is the ampulla of the Volter. This is the common bile duct which is coming from the liver. This is the gallbladder cystic duct disjoined to form the common bile duct. Here the pancreatic duct joined it, and this open into the duodenum. When this tissue necrosis and inflammation occur, this leads to the obstruction here, and sometimes this lead to the pseudocyst formation. This is the pseudocyst is occur behind the pancreatic tissue. This is the CT scan imaging. This is the basically the pancreas. This is the duodenum, and this is the pseudocyst formation. This is behind the pancreatic tissue. You see in the radiological imaging picture like this pseudocyst formation. This is another picture, another cut section where you are seeing the pseudocyst formation. This is the pancreatic tissue, and calcification occur, as I have told you, the when the this is fat necrosis occur, and the on the fat necrosis calcification occur, calcium deposits on this area. This is the picture where you are seeing the calcification, and this is the pseudocyst behind the pancreatic tissue. Now the part is that what test you will perform to diagnose a acute pancreatitis case. First test definitely, which are the general tests which were performed in the blood test, is the serum amylase and lipase. These are very important. Serum amylase level typically rise 3 to 4 folds or more than this, and this indicates the acute pancreatitis. But you must know the limitation of this test, because this test may be elevated in other conditions, like in mumps. Mumps is the parotid gland inflammation with the virus. Sometimes it is amylase is elevated in other conditions like the perforation and infarction of the intestine. In the especially in the dentistry students, you frequently meet a case of the mumps or parotid inflammation, parotid gland inflammation. Here the serum amylase level is typically raised. But you must not confuse this with the acute pancreatitis. Same is with when you find a case of the abdominal pain and you find a raised level of the serum amylase, you must see other organs like the salivary glands. But in acute pancreatitis, it is typically in thousands. It's very high. And serum amylase level typically start rising 48 to 72 hours after the start of the disease, and but there is limitation that it becomes normal within 48 to 72 hours. Sorry, it starts immediately rise, and it remains rise in 2 to 3 days and then comes down. That's why I have told you it has certain limitation. First limitation is that it is raised in other condition. Other is that it becomes to the normal after 248 to 72 hours. Only other limitation is that if the patient has the some other inflammation like ascites, then it continuously rise. That's why we not only perform the serum amylase level but also serum lipase level, because it is typically remained raised for 7 to 14 days, means 1 week to 2 weeks it remained in high position. And so while diagnosing acute pancreatitis, we perform these two tests, serum amylase and lipase. As a dentistry student, you must know the limitation of serum amylase. Okay, it is rise initially, but after 48 to 72 hours. If everything is going smoothly, then it becomes normal. Okay, sometimes it does not comes to normal, and especially in the condition where there is some necrosis of the pancreatic tissue. If acute pancreatitis occur and it becomes normal, then it comes normal. But the serum lipase is very important because it remained elevated 7 to 14 days. Other tests which are performed in routine is the CBC, where you see the leukocytosis. You perform the hematocrit concentration, it is high. Other tests are the blood glucose level, which is very high. Calcium level is low. There is maybe hypertriglyceridemia. Blood urea nitrogen level is also raised, especially in the case where there is a renal involvement occur, because pre-renal failure occur because of the hypotension. You find the blood urea nitrogen level elevated. Other is the liver enzymes. Liver enzymes are elevated. AST, bilirubin, alkaline phosphatase are elevated. Serum albumin level is low in some cases. Serum LDH level is also elevated in this condition. Same is with that. CRP, C-reactive protein, is also elevated. And when the ARDS is going on, we perform the arterial blood gases and we can find the hypoxia. Uh, I am not confusing you. You must know one important test for acute pancreatitis, which is serum amylase and lipase. Other tests are performed routinely in the acute pancreatitis to see the other complication and other aspect. In examination, the examiner usually asks you to write down the important investigation. So you must not miss this investigation, amylase and lipase. Other investigations which are performed are the imaging studies. In imaging studies, we perform the X-ray abdomen plane, we perform the abdominal ultrasound, we perform CT scan, we perform MRI and MRCP test, ERCP test, which are very important for the diagnosis. I will show you the pictures. Here is the ultrasound picture. Here is the pancreatic tissue and the complication of the acute pancreatitis, pseudocyst formation. Here is the pseudocyst formation. By the ultrasound, you can diagnose the pseudocyst formation. You perform the serial ultrasound to see. Moreover, by the help of ultrasound, you can also find if there is some gallstone, which is very important complication, which is very important cause of acute pancreatitis is the gallstone, which slipped from the gallbladder and goes into the common bile duct and it stuck up at the ampulla, and so the obstruction occur and acute pancreatitis occur. So you perform the ultrasound and you get the very important information. This is the CT scan image. Here the arrows shows the pseudocyst formation, because pseudocyst is very important and common complication. That's why I am repeatedly telling you the CT scan formation. So this is very important test, and sometimes it is very diagnostic, especially if you have the diagnosis of acute pancreatitis and you have the serum amylase level normal, but the CT scan will confirm you that it is a case of acute pancreatitis. So it is very important as sometimes you find the gas bubbles on the CT scan, which indicates that there is pancreatic abscess formation. So CT scan imaging is very important to see the complication, sometimes for the diagnostic test, and you must perform the CT scan in case of suspected case of acute pancreatitis. This is the imaging of the picture of the MRCP, where you inject radio opaque dye into the common bile duct system and pancreatic duct system from the ampulla at the level of the sphincter of OD. From here you inject the dye, it goes into the pancreatic duct. You see the pancreatic duct, it is architecture is distorted or not. You find the common bile duct. If there is uh, some obstruction, you will see here. If there is an obstruction, you see clearly the cystic duct. If there is any inflammation or not, you see the hepatic ducts, whether they are inflamed and engorged, size is increased or not. So this is very important test, MRCP. If there is some stone, we remove the stone with the help of ERCP. This is the ERCP. This is the gastroscope, which pass from the mouth. It goes into the stomach. Then the first part, then second part. From here, you put the small tube into the from the sphincter of OD into the system. It may go into the common bile duct, and if the stone is here from this passage to there, at this passage, if there is some stone or some stone is here, you remove it with the help of the ERCP test. This is the imaging of the X-ray abdomen. This is the plain X-ray abdomen. You will find important sign which is known as sentinel loops. Sentinel loops are basically a segment of air-filled small intestine in the left upper quadrant. This usually occurred in the acute pancreatitis. So this is the sentinel loop because here is the pancreatic tissue. Because of inflammation, there is air-filled loop. Other is the colon cut-off sign. This is the transverse colon, and here is the cut-off. In the transverse colon, you see the colon, and suddenly it disappeared. This is known as the colon cut-off sign because this is usually seen in the acute pancreatitis because this is the gas-filled segment of the transverse colon which abruptly end at the area of the pancreatic inflammation. Here is the area, here is the pancreatic tissue, and here because of inflammation, remaining part is the disappeared. This is known as the colon cut-off sign. So plain X-ray abdomen also give us the important informations. This is the CT scan abdomen where you are seeing the gas bubble which occurs usually in the pancreatic abscess formation. These are the gas bubbles. These are the gas bubbles in the pancreatic tissues. So CT scan is very important test, diagnostic and seeing the complications. So it gives us important information. Now we assess the severity, whether it is a mild case of the acute pancreatitis or moderate or severe case of the acute pancreatitis. There is criteria which is known as the Renson criteria. Especially in the examination, it is asked what is Renson criteria. Means you must know that Renson criteria is employed in the acute pancreatitis patients. There are the certain figures which are very important at the admission. At the admission, we see the following things which are very important and give one score to each of the point. Like if the patient has an age more than 55 years at the admission, if the patient had WBC count, TLC count which is more than 16,000, glucose more than 200 milligrams per deciliter, LDH level more than 350 international units per liter, and AST level more than 250 international units per liter. Each 5 points give one score to in the assessment of the Renson criteria. The other part of the Renson criteria is that we perform the assessment after 48 hours. Okay. This is important is the decrease in the hematocrit by more than 10%. And number 2 is the estimated fluid sequestration of more than 6 liters. Other is the serum calcium level less than 8 milligram per deciliter. In arterial blood gases, partial pressure of oxygen less than 60 mm per Hg, and blood urea nitrogen increases more than 5 milligram per deciliter after hydration, and other is the base deficit more than 4 millimole per liter. Base deficit, basically this is calculated from the arterial blood gases test. So and other which is sometimes it is included is the seventh point is the hypoalbuminemia. Albumin which is less than 3.2 grams per deciliter, which is not written in here on the slide. You must add serum albumin level, which is the seventh point. So these are the important points, which some are at the time of admission, and second is the which are performed next 48 hours. This shows tell us what is the severity. Well, while it is severity means mild, moderate, severe case, and this mild, moderate, severe relates with the mortality of the patients. Which patient, how much survival occur, how much deaths occur. If the number of criteria is 0 to 2, then mortality is 1%. If 3 to 4, then mortality is 16%. If criteria's point have the 5 to 6, then mortality is 40%, which is very high. If 7 to 8, then mortality is 100%, means chances of survival is very low. So you must do the Ranson criteria at the admission and next 48 hour, and you get the score. Means you write down in your notes at the time of admission and next 48 hours. These are important points and investigations which are performed to assess the severity of the disease, and we can assess the mortality by this important criteria, which is Ranson criteria. Again and again I am telling you, this is very important thing, which usually we perform in the acute pancreatitis, by which we can tell the attendants what is the chances of survival of the patient in a patient of acute pancreatitis. Last part is the management. In usually mild cases, no active management is required. Cases are usually resolved within days, and we just ask them to take fluids, but stop food and taking, and takes plenty of the fluid by mouth, and have a bed rest, and if the pain occur, we give the analgesics. So but in severe cases, this is the management. In the mild cases, mean only bed rest and liquid diet and no solid diet. Okay, and for the pain, mild analgesics. But for the severe cases which are admitted in the hospital, we keep them patient NPO, nothing per oval. We give the IV narcotics because the patient has the severe pain. We give the pethidine usually because patient has a severe pain, and we ask usually our doctors to for the pain please avoid morphine because this causes the spasm of the sphincter of the body. Next part is the we put the nasogastric tube, and we perform the nasogastric decompression. Moreover, this also relieved the nausea and vomiting of the patients or development of the paralytic ileus. Other is that we give the fluid replacement therapy, we give the saline, sometimes whole blood is required for the fluid replacement therapy. We give the oxygen for the patient with the severe disease. If the patient has say a low oxygenation, we give the oxygen therapy to the patient. If the patient has the hyperglycemia, we give the insulin. If the patient have the severe hypocalcemia, means patient have the tetany-like symptoms, carpopedal spasm, typically patient's hands and feet are twisting. This means patient has the hypocalcemia. We treat the hypocalcemia with the help of calcium gluconate injection. If the patient has the infection, we usually give the broad spectrum antibiotics, typically imipenem, which is comes in the with the name of the tinum, or cefuroxime, which comes with the name of Zinasif. These broad spectrum antibiotics are employed for the treatment. Sometimes patient has the hypoalbuminemia, we give the albumin. Sometimes fresh frozen plasma is required if the patient has the coagulopathy. If the patient has the low blood pressure, for the rise of blood pressure, we give the dopamine, which is vasoconstrictive and cardiac inotropic. These are basically give the inotropic support to the heart muscles. We give the oxygen if the patient has a hypoxia, and sometimes ventilators support is also required. If the patient has the pus or necrotic tissue, we, with the help of ultrasound or CT scan, we perform the percutaneous aspiration, and sometimes surgically open laparotomy is done and surgical debridement of the necrotic tissue is employed. And sometimes we have to perform the ERCP when the severe pancreatitis results from the stones in the biliary tract. We perform the ERCP, and particularly if the patient has a jaundice or cholangitis. ERCP with endoscopic sphincterotomy, and then stone extraction is done. So this is very important, which usually performed by the with the help of the gastroenterologist. So this is all for the acute pancreatitis. This is the management is very important, but usually management is very means very critical. If the patient has the mild case, we usually ask the patient to treat in the home. If they have the mild, we admit in the hospital. More for moderate, we admit in the hospital, and for the severe cases, we admit in the ICU. But these all things rely on the Ranson criteria. If they have more score, then we call it the severe case, and because mortality is high. And treatment mostly, I have told you, is the symptomatic. If the patient has a complication, say blood sugar is high, okay, give the insulin. If calcium low, okay, give the calcium injection. If the infection, treat with the antibiotics. If there is stone in the gallbladder, perform the ERCP. So is the treatment is mostly depends upon the condition of the patient. That's all for the acute pancreatitis. If you have any query or question, you can ask me in my WhatsApp group or in my Facebook group. You are welcome. So today we have started the after GI finishing the GI. Now I have started the pancreas, and then another lecture of the pancreas, and then we will start the liver diseases. Okay, thank you very much. Again, I am telling you, if you have any query or you want to ask any question, you are welcome.